Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we are taking a quick, quick sneak peek at the character creation process for Level Up Advanced 5th Edition. And I thought we'd take a look at the chart that kind of gives us an example of the options, and then just because this is more of an editorialization on my part, we're going to look at the ability to limit our decisions, giving us greater creative space. Okay, and we'll get into this a little bit deeper as we go along. But I wanted to show you guys this aspect of level up and how race has been changed into heritage and culture, and to assuage people's fears of the game, especially level up, taking away people's choices and or making far too many choices. All right, so here we have the chart for character origin, and we will zoom in on this, but I just want to give you an overview to allow you to see all of the choices um, before I zoom in. So, in the beginning here, if you can see my cursor, we start with heritages. And heritages are like, who were your parents? Your heritage is your um, i- fantasy genetic makeup, if you will. Maybe you were born a certain way because your parents got together and gave birth to you, or your heritage could have been through um, other fantastical means, whether you were um, touched, blessed, you could have been accursed or tainted in some way. Maybe you were born in a different region, such as maybe a human baby taken to the Feylands or something like that. Or maybe you were born with under a particular legacy and punished because of the actions of your parents or your a tribe or community or village or something of that nature. Now, under heritages, we do have dragonborn, uh, dwarf, elf, gnome, halfling, human, orc. Those are uh, pretty standard in O5e, original 5th edition. But we do have down here plain touched and mixed heritage. Plain touched is a catch-all. Plain touch is a catch-all for characters that are, of course, have an aspect from what would be traditionally known as the Outer Planes. Yes, Tiefling fall into this, Asimar fall into this, but there's a wider range of other planar regions, and this is a catch-all for creating a character like that. Let's say your character uh, came from the Shadowlands, or from, if you want to go even further back from us old Grognardians, you came from the positive or negative material plane, and so on and so forth. And there are other planes of existence. Maybe you are one who's really into Planescape, and your character has some connection to Mechanus or Tartarus or something of that nature. And so this is a way to do that. And lastly, we do have mixed heritage. And under mixed heritage, you can create a character that who both of your neither of your parents are human, but both of your parents are different. So you could be half elf, half halfling, or half dragonborn, half orc, or half gnome, half dwarf, or something of that nature. Now we move over to cultures, and this is the great part here, because for me as a creator, like I said, this is going to be a bit editorial. Under cultures is, where did you grow up? And if we take a look at the chart here, and I'm going to zero in just a little bit more. Let's see if we can give you guys a little a greater zero in this a little bit. There we go. All right. So if we take a look at cultures, and this from the left, this is the lighter brown column here. You will see some that are very common. For example, if we move down to something like deep dwarf and deep gnome, you'll recognize that. You'll recognize a ladrin for some of you, forest gnome, or even a wood elf. Now, you don't need to be an elf to have the wood elf culture. You may be a human who grew up in a wood elf culture. And that is what is, for those who are afraid that this was taken away from O5e original 5th edition, it still exists. Mountain dwarf still exists, but we do have other cultures. And this, I think, is the great part, simply because, such as the caravaner, circus folk, collegiate, cosmopolitan, we can go down here to the imperial or the nomad or settler or steam forged, and so on and so forth. These cultures allow us, so for example, maybe your four party group of characters, all of them having a different heritage, gnome, halfling, human, and orc, may come from the same or similar cultures. Now, I said it earlier that there is creative space in limiting choice. So we now have a great number of choices, but there's a way to limit it. And this, I think, is the middle ground between the people who are extreme old grognard traditionalists and for players who want all the choices in the world. What you could do during character creation, when you're creating this world and inviting your players to join you, is that various regions of your world may apply to specific cultures. So for characters that come from the north, maybe and you want to have traditional uh, orcs orcs uh, raiding villages, and you want the more shall we say stereotypical barbaric orc, you might pick three cultures that kind of embrace that according to this list. So maybe there's a war hoarding, might be one culture from that the orcs have. Maybe there's a imperial, might be another one. There may even maybe you even add like stoic orc to that as well, or even wildling. And so this gives maybe gives players a choice while still holding to the culture, the dynamic that you want to have in your game. And I think that would be really great. And you can apply this to the cities in your world, or maybe your world is extremely nomadic. So you may only allow, say, nomadic, lone wanderer, forsaken, and uh, I don't know, tyrannized as an example for your world. Now, let's move on to the third portion of this. Very, this should be familiar to those who've ever played Fifth Edition. Our backgrounds. What was your occupation during this time as you were growing up? And of course, we have many of these are extremely common, from acolyte to charlatan, entertainer, farmer, folk hero, moving all the way down to things such as marauder, sailor, soldier, trader, and urchin. And lastly, something very new that will seem uncommon to you, but I think this is a great layer to add on to Level Up Advanced 5th Edition, is your destiny. What is your personal story? And over here, all of these are not only motivations for characters, but they have a mechanical impact in the story, and they use the inspiration mechanic. And under each of the destinies, it gives a uh, you do not have to portray your destiny, much like the argument that many people have about alignment, how alignment has kind of faded to the background and is almost kind of non-existent in many ways. But destinies give you a mechanical benefit for playing towards your destiny. And each destiny has a, let's just say, call it a goal in mind. So, for example, we have chaos, coming of age, devotion, dominion, excellence, knowledge, metamorphosis, revenge, underdog, and wealth. And each of those destinies, pretty openly, you can see where they go. For example, in chaos, it's the person who fights authority. Maybe they want to see the world burn. They they like to take down the structures of both society and physical structures as well. And you can use your inspiration for those who don't understand, inspiration is the I in the aid system in fifth edition. There's advantage, disadvantage, and sandwiched right in the middle is inspiration, and you get to roll another die 20 and take the highest roll. And in Destinies, you're able to use that in a different manner, which benefits your character. Destinies is a a layer on top of the rules that already exist. So a character can change their destiny based on the role playing that happens in the game. Maybe a character, what's a great one? Revenge is a very common destiny. You know, someone or something has destroyed your village, and you're out for revenge. But what happens if you succeed in punishing the bad guys? Well, what happens then? Maybe the character has done so many evil things. Now they are under a metamorphosis as to where does their life lead, or maybe they were young. Maybe you're playing a character who's extremely young and is coming of age. You've left home and now you're going to see the greater wide world. And maybe both as a player and a character, you're kind of undecided. You don't know. You're aimless. You don't know what's happening, but you do want to get older. You do want to learn about this new game. And what an appropriate destiny to choose for someone who's not familiar with level up 5e and may not be familiar with the game setting itself. And so after you receive your coming of age, you become an adult, more in experiential than age. Then maybe you pick something else. And so a character who has finished their revenge, maybe they become devoted to a religion, or maybe even devoted to another player character, or maybe they want to collect wealth to change the society in which was destroyed by the BBEG or something of that nature. But anyway, um, in summary, we do have, there we go. We do have heritage. That is your genetics, your birth, what you are physically. We have cultures. Where did you grow up? What kind of culture did you grow up in? Were you a gnome that grew up amongst high elves, or an orc that was in a caravan, or went to college? Maybe you were dragonborn that settled in the wastelands, or maybe you were grew up around stout halflings because you were adopted. And then of course we add in our backgrounds, like what was your occupation during that time in the past, or maybe even currently, how you earn your money and your living. And then lastly we have destinies, and I think destinies is going to be pretty special when you guys finally get a chance to look at it. So guys, thank you so much for allowing me to share this with you. I really appreciate it. And by the way, if you um, if you would be so kind to do a little bit of call to action, please like, share, subscribe, follow, comment below. Let me know what you think. This is just a sneak peek at Level Up Advanced 5th Edition. Please support the Kickstarter if you're watching this before the Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter has already finished and you're seeing this, you know, by the way, please take a look at that. And of course, below down in the video, we have all the links to N World, the Level Up 5e website to take a look at everything there, and of course, the Kickstarter page. Guys, thank you very much. This is RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ. Have a great and wonderful